You already know who it is. It's your boy, Anti-Villain, back at it again. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty excited for this video today. This is gonna be like the dumbest video I've ever made. I'm just letting you know that now. This video's pretty stupid, but it should be pretty entertaining and funny as well. It's an Ask Reddit. It's the this title's kind of wild. What's the worst random boner you ever gotten? Oh man, I can already think of a few examples. You know what I'm saying? It was always in class. You know what I'm saying? You gotta like stand up to like present or something like that, and you pop a random out of nowhere, and it's just, bruh. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of giving me PTSD just thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure all the men in here can think about at least one example when you popped a random in class, or you popped a random in like a board meeting or something like that, and you're like, hopefully I won't have to stand up because this is not going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, we're going to house straight into this video, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully this video is pretty entertaining. Hopefully this is funny. Hopefully it's at least almost PG. Obviously this video isn't going to be fully PG because, you know, boners. But hopefully this isn't too wild, okay? So we're going to house straight into this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, okay? Let's go!
What's the worst random boner you've ever gotten? I was at a Christmas gathering with family when I was 11 to 13. We were sitting in a circle on chairs chatting with each other. I noticed I started getting hard, but I was already sitting, so I was able to hide it pretty well. Then my cousin, who is a year younger than me, seeing there are no empty chairs, tries to sit in my lap. I didn't have any time to say much, so I hollered loudly that I needed to go to the bathroom and launched myself out of the chair while trying to face my body away from the general group as quickly as possible. This girl was playfully bullying me, thoroughly kicking my ass and biting me. A fetish was discovered that day. Was about 16, wearing jeans, outside on our porch talking to my mom for a while. Not sure about what, just some stupid. I stand up to leave, and she suddenly says, "What are you hiding? What's this?" and reaches out, and, wait for it, pets my boner. She instantly realizes what she's done and kind of laughs it off. I've never forgotten.
What the hell? Hey, yo! Bro, what did you think he had? Bro, that is sus, bro. Nah, your mom's sus for that. No cap. That was freaky.
I got one while wearing a morph suit. Boy, you cannot hide a boner in a morph suit. Every day on my commute, if I sleep on the train, and I always wake up with morning wood when we arrive at my stop, I got a new, longer coat to make getting off of the train less embarrassing. Fell asleep in religion class. To wake me up, I guess my teacher asked me to get up and collect the Bibles from all of my classmates. All I remember is holding the Bibles like a fucking weirdo and avoiding eye contact with a couple of girls I had a crush on. Slow dancing with my prom date. Didn't even realize it was happening until she pointed it out to me. She was cool about it, but I was so embarrassed. Boner before a presentation in English. I was so stiff that I had to tell the teacher I wasn't ready. I was young, probably 13 to 14, still learning the tuck in the waistband technique. I went to the beach with my friend and his extended family. He had a sexy 25-year-old cousin. She was gorgeous. I was sitting in the ocean trying to get rid of my flaccid almost boner when we decided to get out. I did the old fold into the waistband in swim trunks. You had to be careful with this one, but it wasn't a rager, so I wasn't worried. So it was fine. Nothing looked weird until she walked over and said, "Oh wow, your chest vein is so blue." She then ran her finger down my vein on my chest. I became rock hard and the tip of my sword past the waistband of my swim trunks. Full head just hanging out. They stared and I turned red and just kinda readjusted and walked back into the ocean in shame. At one point in my freshman year of college, I was both homesick and depressed, and, as a result, didn't feel very social. One evening, we were leaving the dining hall and my roommate ran into one of his female friends. I smiled at her and kept walking so they could talk, but she said my name, causing me turn around. Right as I'm turned back around, she grabbed me in a big hug and told me I clearly needed it. Now I'm ready to let go at any time, but she just keeps on hugging me and of course, I start to get a boner. Thankfully I had enough sense to lean my hips back enough that she wasn't gonna feel it. That hug felt like an eternity, because that was the last thing I needed on my conscience at that point. It was a super sweet gesture on her part, but hoo boy, I wasn't ready for it. I had a testicle exam due to a small lump that turned out to be nothing. The female doctor wasn't a 10 or anything, but the second she touched my wing-dang doodle to move it out of the way, I went into full attention. 5 minutes of her looking over my balls with a stiffy seemed to go on forever. In a project meeting at work, texted my boss sitting across from me and explained I have a problem standing up. He got the message and began the presentation himself before I jumped in. Good boss. Shame he left. During my first breakup, it was amicable, and we were both sitting down and had both been crying. She kissed me on the forehead as she was about to leave, and boom, I got a boner. No idea why. There was absolutely nothing sexy about that moment. It was one of the worst days of my life. The human body is so strange. When I was 14, my mom forced me to do a rowing class to make friends, as I had none. There was this 18-year-old beautiful Mexican girl who was instructor. I was rowing in the front row, and she was sitting on the front of the boat. Needless to say, I got a boner. No one else behind me could see, but she definitely knew. We just had to sit in the boat,
Bro,
the only
what?
ones who knew,
That's
sharing
not
the
it.
moment together. I quit rowing a few weeks later, and I still have no friends. Teaching an elementary school swimming class, my teacher got a boner for a random reason. I will never forget what I saw. I was like 7 years old. I remember the girls were excited to show off their new 2-piece bathing suits instead of the childish honorses, and started modeling them. Looking back, that was probably it. I hope my teacher back then never did anything inappropriate. Not
Bro, what the heck? He needs to be in jail. How is he teaching? Oh, man. Yeah, like, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Bro. Alright, we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen.
but a past coworker. We were in lifeguard training and were split out on teams. He ended up on a team with 4 female cheerleaders. He boasted about how lucky he was. Anyhow, the drill was a possible neck injury bottom of pool rescue. He was the victim. One of the girls had to dive down and put him in essentially a reverse motorboat position and swim him to the edge of the pool, where he then had to be strapped down to the board. Midway through being strapped down, he pitched a tent. All girls noticed laughing occurred. He went to fix it, and the instructor told him that unconscious people do not move. That was the last day of lifeguarding for him. In high school, we were pairing up for a class project. We were going boy/girl to do a marriage simulation with a fake baby egg we had to carry around with us at all times. The teacher was drawing names out of a bowl to pair us up. We would then stand up and walk down the middle of the classroom together as our wedding, then we would be a couple for a week. Well, when he was starting to draw names, I got a boner that would not die, and I started to panic and sweat, knowing if I got called up it would be highly visible to the class and my new wife. I was lucky enough to go second to last, and by then it had subsided a tad, but when I held hands with the girl I was sweaty as f***, and I kind of turned off my new wife. Ended up doing pretty good on the project, cause I did the whole damn thing myself. My teacher who gave us the marriage project got busted for hooking up with students, while his wife was in chemo. The year was 2001, third period English. My teacher was a 23-year-old first-year teacher, and she was a knockout that was wearing a particularly tight dress that day. I was a horny 16-year-old that had to give a present.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes these teachers be dressing mad provocative, and it's kind of spooky, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did you see that teacher who got fired for cause she had like a really like nice like model like shape? But I mean, you can't just fire someone because they're attractive. That's ridiculous. But she was wearing like skin tight pants and shirts, and like in elementary school, it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, that's that spooky crap I be talking about, dog. That was spooky.
Presentation on the Odyssey, and I popped a boner about a minute before I had to get up and talk. So being the resourceful teen that I was, I discreetly secured it in the elastic waistband of my underwear. About halfway through the presentation, I made an unfortunate combo of arm movements that caused the waistband to rise ever so slightly and release the beast. It is important to remember that in the early
What?
millennium in the Midwest, loose-fitting pants were all the rage, and when you were pitching a tent in those spacious slacks, it was easy to tell how roomy, or not so roomy, said tent really was. But I powered through, and got my A. I'm pretty sure it was a pity A, but I like to think she saw something impressive that day. My Bianca and I were laying in bed, and I was holding her as she cried. It was the anniversary of her dad's death, and I randomly popped wood. Bad thing is I didn't notice. Too busy comforting her, until she looked up at me with tears streaming down her face, and goes, "Are you hard right now?" Embarrassing, but it did make her laugh, which helped her get her mind off her sadness. I was getting...
Imagine that. My dad just died. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yo, meat just goes mega mode. Yeah, that's not it. Horrible cat. Truly the worst kinds.
an ultrasound on my balls, and the tech was this super cute girl, and I felt bad, but she kept gently nudging my boner out of the way with the ultrasound tool. I didn't really know what to do, but it just kept coming back with a vengeance each time she banished it with that weird little tool. I was on an afternoon flight, back when I used to travel all the time for work. I was in the middle seat. Woke up to the dude on my left staring at me, like I opened my eyes and boom. Eye contact. I looked down, and had a cutted diamond full mast hard on. Look back at him, and his gaze had intensified disapprovingly in that half second. To my right, the well put together older lady started laughing, and said, "Damn, what were you dreaming about?" At that time I was still kind of uptight, so it was really embarrassing, but funny. Not sure if anyone else gets this, but occasionally I get what I'd describe as a sleepy boner. By that, I mean when I get sleepy, I occasionally get wood, right when I'm about to fall asleep, and then I'll drift off to the land of dreams. It's kinda nice. So, a few weeks before our wedding, my wife and I went out to eat, and, afterwards, she asked if I'd mind stopping into Michael's craft store with her, so she could look for a few extra things for the wedding reception. I worked a steady overnight shift at this time, but it was my night off, so I said I'd go. We head into Michael's, and she's really getting into looking at ribbon and yarn for some decoration she wants to make, and I'm kind of bored, so I decide to leave her and see what else is in the store. Turns out there's not a lot that's relevant to my interests. And because I work a weird work shift and I just had a nice meal, I'm starting to get sleepy inside this Michael's at like 8:30 at night. As I'm strolling through the button aisle, I realize I'm starting to get a strong sleepy boner, and it's poking straight ahead like a dowsing rod through my jeans. So I decide it's time to find my wife, while avoiding any customers. Then it strikes me how bizarre it would look to any other customers who might happen upon me. A grown man with an obvious boner walking around this Michael's by himself on Friday night. This makes me start to laugh to myself. Then I imagine how creepy it would look for someone to see a grown man with a boner in Michael's giggling to himself. And
Oh,
it becomes
no.
funnier. I make my way back to where she was, and, of course, she's no longer there. So I'm walking all through the store with a boner, trying to avoid people while stifling laughter. Got looks from a couple of other shoppers, but quickly made my way past them, and finally found my wife by the registers. I told her I'd meet her in the car, and told her about it when she came out. We still laugh about it to this day. Math class in middle school.
That's so
My
wild.
teacher had the room set up where there are groups of 3 desks spread out across the room. I was on the right desk. 2 girls took up the middle and left desks in our group. I was getting bored and started to daydream, randomly catch some serious wood. Girls start freaking out and laughing to themselves hysterically. I pay no mind to them for what felt like 5 minutes, before I realized my pants were throbbing like a child kicking around in a mother's womb. Safe to say I asked to sit somewhere else after class. My teacher said no. Not me, but one time I was sitting beside this guy, training him on one of his first days, and he got a very noticeable boner. Then it twitched. I got a boner while consoling a friend after her brother's cancer diagnosis. She had her arms around me like a python, sobbing uncontrollably, her face against my shoulder, tears soaking through my shirt. I'm trying to be strong, supportive and comforting, and it's like, wow, schwans. Not now. Inapprobes.
Dude, that video was disgusting. Yeah. But I already reacted to it, so I might as well upload it. That video was not it. That video made me feel uncomfortable, I'm not gonna lie. But hey, hopefully you all enjoyed it, because that was awkward for me. Anywho, I hope you all liked this video. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you aren't popping randoms throughout the video, because that would be mad freaky. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that was a weird comment. We're gonna end this video. Definitely the worst video I've made by far so far. My most awkward video. So we're gonna end this right now. Make sure to like and subscribe.